It was reported that the Border Patrol recently sent out a legal refresher on the use of force. Have you sent out something similar to your officers? You know, just hours after Jonathan Ross, ICE officer, shot Renee Good, Secretary of Homeland Security, Ms. Noem, stood at a podium and said the officer did exactly what he was taught to do. So let me ask you, if I can, and if you have the answers, do you instruct officers to approach a vehicle from the front to prevent them from fleeing?
The direction that officers are trained in is to approach in as safe a manner as possible.
Do you authorize officers to shoot at fleeing vehicles if they're not immediately in harm's way? Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and let me follow up the witnesses on the chairman's line of thought questioning. The thought that San Ysidro, one of the 9 ports that's not even being looked at in the plan, biggest probably border crossing in the world, massive. We've got fentanyl coming into this country, lives being lost. You can't get this technology out there. Ms. Benedict, you talked about cost. Big Beautiful Bill has $170 billion, massive investment in this part of our government. Want to work with you to make sure that these non-intrusive technology, these marvels of technology, are put into place as quickly as possible. Ms. Sabatino, I'm concerned because the technology is still not implemented, yet it's my understanding that currently you've essentially reassigned or been asked to reassign some of your personnel from the border for ICE deportation enforcement in the interior of the United States. Is that correct?
We have assigned personnel to surge operations. That's not new or unique for us.
Yet, we continue to have this issue at the border. Okay, it's not unique to you, but I believe every agency at the federal level is reassigning the personnel for deportations away from their stated purpose. Is this correct?
I can say I'm familiar with the personnel that we have deployed. I don't know that I could speak for the other federal agencies.
Fair enough. If I can, your officers that you've essentially deployed to immigration enforcement, is this job different from stopping or apprehending people at ports of entry?
Again, when it comes to surging law enforcement support to our federal, state, or local partners, that is something that we plan for periods of time.
It was reported that the Border Patrol recently sent out a legal refresher on the use of force. Have you sent out something similar to your officers?
We do quarterly training with respect to use of force. We have done refresher training in First Amendment and Fourth Amendment rights. And again, that is not unique to any single deployment that is.
I have 2 minutes. But, you know, just hours after Jonathan Ross, ICE officer, shot Renee Good, Secretary of Homeland Security, Ms. Noem, stood at a podium and said the officer did exactly what he was taught to do. So let me ask you, if I can, and if you have the answers, do you instruct officers to approach a vehicle from the front to prevent them from fleeing?
While I am familiar with the incident itself, I'm not familiar with exactly what happened and didn't really assess videos of that.
But in general, would you instruct your officers to approach a vehicle from the front to prevent it from fleeing?
The direction that officers are trained in is to approach in as safe a manner as possible.
Do you authorize officers to shoot at fleeing vehicles if they're not immediately in harm's way?
And in our use of force training, it is related to the threat that the individual themselves face or to the public.
Ms. Sabatino, within the refresher, it states that passive resistance alone is not conduct under 18 U.S.C. Section 111 to constitute federal crime, as long as there's no assault, resisting arrest, or impeding federal officers from doing the job. The Border Patrol, in their refresher course, stated that it is not a violation of Section 18-111. Noncompliance, refusal to cooperate with an officer's commands, disobeying commands without fighting back, and taking photographs or videotapes of an officer operating in public, again, does not constitute a crime. Have you sent out a similar refresher instructions to your officers?
Again, with respect to the use of force, it is something we do recurring training on.
But would you agree then that taking a photo, videotaping a person standing on the sidelines as situations are developing is not a violation of the law?
Again, our officers are trained to identify threats and take in the totality of circumstances, when it comes to threats to themselves or the public.
Thank you, Ms. Sabatino. I'm out of time, but I will ask you these questions again in writing, and I hope we can get clearer answers. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
At this time, I call on the gentleman from Arizona, Mr. Crane, for 5 minutes for his questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the panelists for showing up today to give us your thoughts on non-intrusive inspection technology at the border. For those Americans that might be watching this hearing, would it make sense to compare this type of technology to, the machine at the airport that scans our bags to look inside and using X-ray technology, Ms. Sabatino?
Yes, it identifies anomalies in the images.
We recently went down to the border as a part of this this committee, and I got to see some of the technology in action. It's pretty amazing that this technology is being deployed. Obviously, it's not going nearly as quick as we want it to. I believe you said you had over 400 units deployed around the country. Is that correct?
405 units deployed, both mobile and fixed.
And Ms. Benedict from GAO said that a part of your plan, there were 9 major ports of entry that this technology is not in your plans to deploy this technology to. Is that correct?
The technology that's been procured, but we are actively working on plans to identify technology with vendors for beating kind of the physical constraints and the RPM interference in locations where we don't currently have technology deployed.
One thing that I found a little disturbing when looking through the committee prep for this hearing today was that the DHSIG put out a report saying that a lot of the equipment, I think $96 million worth of equipment, was sitting in storage containers. Can you unpack that for us, Ms. Sabatino, and what the issue there is?
Well, as of today, we currently have 89 systems that are operational of the technology that was procured. We have 24 systems under construction and 44 in active planning. With respect to the systems that are in storage, 11 of them are high-energy rail systems. We currently have NII technology at the sites. Currently, these would be replacing with new technology. For the 29 other pieces of technology, that there are MEPs and LEPs. 2 sites specifically make up 15 of those that are in storage. They've been in storage about a year. In March and May of this year, it's 9, I believe, to Calexico and 6 to San Luis. Following the construction, they'll be deployed, which will shrink the number that's currently in storage.
So it's not that those units that were delivered aren't working, you're just working at implementing the deployment of them, is that correct?
Yes.
And for these sites that don't have the capacity at this time to accommodate these units, are you guys using portable and handheld technology at those entry points?
We do have some type of NII system available at all our land ports of entry, and that ranges from mobile technology to handheld technology.
How many vendors are you working with to accomplish the goal of 100% of all vehicles coming through ports of entry being scanned?
We deal with different vendors all the time. I'd say there's between 4 and 5 that we're regularly in communication with for the specific types of technology that we're looking at.
Have you found any of the vendors to be superior in the product they deliver?
I think all have benefits to the types of technology, and it really is unique to the type of deployment that we're doing and the distinctions between mobile or fixed or the handheld.
Which systems are more susceptible to have malfunction and breakdown?
Number of reasons for outages, but the primary one is the age of the equipment and the availability of parts, and that's where the funding for the recapitalization from the One Big Beautiful Bill Act is going to be prioritized.
We've obviously talked today in this hearing about what the percentage is that we're currently hitting on pedestrian and commercial vehicles that are actually being scanned at the port of entry. Do you believe you'll be able to hit the goals that you guys have laid out?
So we have increased the scan rates already to 13% for passenger vehicles and 37% for commercial vehicles. And the goal in 2026 is to have it at 40% for POVs and 70% for commercial vehicles. But we are very, welcome to continue keeping you updated as these deployments roll out, and certainly let you know of any roadblocks or challenges that we hit that would prevent us from achieving that goal.
Thank you. I yield back.